Welcome, everybody. This is the Friday, Sue Kelly, 11 o'clock. I couldn't resist.
Oh, great.
The,
Advertise it to the world.
the 11 o'clock class that is intermediate and advanced combined. The song for today is That's Entertainment, which is an absolutely fabulous song, but it is a little bit tricky because it's fast. So we're going to slow it down. Even if you guys go to your song setup, it comes up to like 132, and you're actually ending up playing it double, which would be 264. That's fast. So we want to slow it down at least to 110, at least. It'll feel right to you. If you need to go down to 100 or even 90, please feel free to do that. Um, and the best backgrounds for this song, first go to song setup. It's probably going to be one of your Broadway backgrounds.
Mm.
I have it on, I'm playing on a Journey, by the way, and I am going to be playing it on the Broadway full band opener at 110. And I did, as I announced before we started recording, I wrote in 5 minutes, I wrote the middle section. So if anybody wants the middle section, and you'll hear it once I play it, and I'll tell you exactly where it is. Just again, let me have an email and I will scan it to you so that you can figure it out. And if you want to put circles around the I never put circles around my notes. I just fill in the letters. All right, what do we know about this? This song everybody knows. It's words and music by Arthur Schwartz and Howard Dietz, published in 1952. It was actually written for the 1953 MGM musical film called The Bandwagon. Now, The Bandwagon was one that I had not heard of. But if you go to YouTube and look at the original, you can see a little clip from The Bandwagon, and it's performed in the film by Jack Buchanan, Fred Astaire, Nanette Fabre, and Oscar Levant.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's who's doing it in the original 1953 movie, and it's listen to the lyrics. It's pretty cool. This was number 45 in the AFI's 100 Years, 100 Songs, which is the book that we have. And it has become the signature song for MGM. And it has become an anthem for Hollywood and theater in general. It is perhaps mostly associated with Judy Garland, who recorded it for her 1960 LP, That's Entertainment. And it was also used for the film series That's Entertainment. I'm sure most of you have seen that. It came out in different sections. And if you have not seen the That's Entertainment clips about Hollywood, make sure that you see it because it's really pretty fascinating.
Mhm.
And they use this song. This is the song, the theme song that goes along with it. Is it easy to play? Not really. If you've tried it already, the hard part is it goes up and down the keyboard. Oops, we lost Marshall. It does go up and down the keyboard, so you're going to have to figure out which fingers are going to be the best. Mine are not always the best for you, so that's why when we do fingering, we write it in pencil, so that if yours have a tendency to want to do something different, then you can go in and erase and put your own in. But consistency is the key to good fingering. So you have different sections of the song, but they repeat all throughout. Don't play one section with this fingering and another section with this fingering because that's not going to work. So find something that works. Go over each section slowly. You do not have to play it up to speed to get started. Okay, I'm going to try and I'm going to make lots of mistakes. So for those of you that like counting mistakes, you may count them because I am going to have many of them. All right, I'm going to play it at 110 on the Broadway opener, and I'll put the introduction on. We are in the key of C. And I'm actually playing it at 220 because I'm playing it double time. Here's the insert. Okay, and then for those of you who would be brave enough that would want to transpose it up one and go back and play the whole thing again, because it goes very quickly because we are playing it in double time. But did you recognize that that insert, that's not in here? And it took me this morning to figure out, oh my goodness, I didn't finish this. So
Yeah, I like the insert. It's my favorite part of the song.
yeah, yeah, it is pretty cool. Yep. So yeah, just shoot me an email after class and I'll be more than happy to scan that over to you and you can fill it in and fix it any way you need to fix it because I just did it in 5 minutes in pencil to just get it done this morning. Okay, did I add extra chords? I did, but I want you to know that some of them are 1 chord per note and they go very quickly, and if you can't quite get your fingers to move that fast, skip them, okay? You do not need to torture yourself trying to do extra chords flying fingers at that fast of a speed, so no worries. If you like them and you're up for the challenge, go ahead and put them in or write them lightly in pencil so that at least they're there when you're ready for them. And here we go on extra chords. Extra chords. And the insert I'll just hand out to you guys later. So we'll just do the body of the 3 pages of music. The C chord is good for 1 measure. Measure 2, you're going to have 3 chords, so write small. Beat 1, over the blacked-in quarter note, C augmented. Now this is a 3-fingered chord. C chicken, E elephant, and G sharp, sharp giraffes or gorillas, whichever one. Over the F, put in an F minor, fish minor, which is F and A flat. Over the E, go back to a C augmented. C, E, and G sharp. Okay, next measure, you may put a 7 on the D minor. C, D, and F. Second line, the G sharp, the G7 is good. The C is good for 1 measure. Third measure, over that blacked-in quarter note, beat 1, C sharp diminished. C sharp, D-I-M. Your 2 notes are C sharp and G. G, those, remember the rule for diminished is the letter plus 6 up the scale. All right, the D minor, you may put a 7 on it if you wish. C, D, F. Line 3, the E is good for 1 count. Now remember, these are optional. Over the C, beat 2, put in a C augmented. We already had that one. It's C, E, and G sharp. And then over the B, go back to the E or E7. Remember the rule for augmented, by the way? It's the letter plus 4 plus 4 more. So that's how you can find any augmented chord. The A minor is good for 1 measure. Over the blacked-in quarter note, in the 3rd measure, put in a plain old F. Plain old F for the whole measure. Pretty easy. At least one's pretty easy. All right, the D or D7 is good for 2 counts. Over the D, beat 3. Put in a D minor, D and F. And beat 4, over the E, put in an E augmented. You can also write it as a C augmented because it's the same note, C, E, and G sharp. Fourth line, third beat, right in the middle of the measure, put in a plain old E or E7. The D minor is good for 1.5 measures. So measure 3, third beat over the A, put in a C sharp diminished, C sharp DIM, which would be C sharp and G. Cross out the G chord and replace it with D minor, dog minor, or D minor 7, which is C, D, F. Turn the page, go to the second page. First measure, in the middle of the measure, beat 3. Put in a G or a G7, Gorilla 7. The C is good for 1 measure. Third measure, three chords, so write small. Over the blacked in quarter note, put in a C augmented, C, E, G sharp for 1 count. Over the F, F minor, F and A flat. And over the E, C augmented. Go back to that one, C, E, G sharp. Now, if you kind of take a look at those 3 chords, C augmented is C, E, G sharp. F minor is F and A flat, but guess what? G sharp and A flat are the same key. So you can leave your thumb right on that key. Okay, that's just a little trick. Sometimes they're easier to play than they are to get in your head. Sometimes if you just kind of work it out, it's usually a 1 or 2 finger fix, and you don't have to move one of the fingers. All right. Where are we? The end of at the end of the first line, you may put a 7 on the D minor. Line 2, the G7 is good. The C is good for 1 measure. Measure 3. Over that blacked in quarter note, put a C sharp diminished. C sharp diminished is C sharp and G, the letter plus 6. You may put a 7 on the D minor. Next line, third line, first measure, you're going to have 3 chords there. The first chord is the E or E7. The second chord is over the C, and it is an E augmented. E augmented, which you could just write as a C augmented, same notes, C, E, G sharp. And again, E7 is here, and the C augmented is here. And going back to the E7 over the B. So when you have 3 chords like that very quickly, work the finger pattern out so that your fingers will figure out where they're going before your brain actually figures that you're moving from chord to chord. The A minor is good for 1 measure. Next measure, over the blacked in quarter note, put a plain old F, fish. The D is good for 2 counts. We're at the end of line 3 now. Beat 3 over the D, put a D minor, and beat 4, put an E augmented, or like I just said, you can also make that a C augmented. It's the same notes, just a different order. So play what's easiest for you when you're going this fast. Some of you will hear a difference when you change the order, but only because the bass note is different.
Dawn,
Yes.
what was in the first measure over the B? Did you say go back to an E on that same line?
Over the blacked in B,
B.
keep it as the E.
Okay.
Don't change that one. That's an E7 for 1 count. Then a C augmented or an E augmented, either one, over the C.
Right.
And then go back to the E7 over the B.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's go to line 4. First measure, third beat. In the middle of the measure, put in an E or an E7, elephant 7. Second measure, you may make the D minor a D minor 7, C, D, F, for 1 measure and a half. Let's go to the third measure, beat 3 over the A. C sharp diminished. C sharp diminished, which is C sharp and G. The G7 is fine, and at the beginning of the next line is where you're going to write insert, because that's where this whole next section goes. You'll see how that works when you get it. Let's continue. Second measure, the C chord is good for 1 measure. Measure 3 over the blacked in quarter note, C augmented, C, E, G sharp, over the F, F minor, F minor, F and A flat, and over the E, C augmented, C, E, G sharp. You may put a 7 on the D minor. Let's go to the third page. The G7 is good for 1 measure. The C is good for 1 measure. Measure 3 on the top line, C sharp diminished. C sharp diminished, which is C sharp and G. Okay. One ringy dingy. We'll fix it. Okay. All right, where are we? Second line. You may put a 7 on the D minor. C, D, F. The E is good, or E7 for 1 count. Over the C, either an E augmented or a C augmented. It's the same note. C, E, G sharp. And over the B, E7. Go back to that. So you're just toggling between 2 chords. So you just got to figure out which fingering is going to be the easiest for you. The A minor is good for that whole last measure. Third line, first beat, plain old F. Cross out the D7 and put a C for 1 measure. Now, if your ears don't like that, that was actually the original chord. If your ears don't like that, you may just start the D7 right there. But the original chord is a C right there. And then in the next measure, over that whited in dotted half note, now put the D7 back in. And over the D sharp, the last note in the line, G or G7. That's your lead-in chord for the C chord. C is good for 1 measure. Cross out the G7 and replace it with D minor or D minor 7, dog minor 7, for 2 counts. In the middle of the measure, go back to the G7. D minor, G7, C is one of the world's most common chord progressions, and your finger should actually be starting to move in those directions. All right, the C is good for 1 measure. Cross out the A minor and replace it with A or A7, which is G and A, for 2 counts. And over the A, beat 3, D or D7. So you're just playing that one a little early because the last 3 chords are fine, exactly the way they are. Now, what if you don't have the opener? What if you don't have that Broadway? Well, guess what? A Freedom 3 has a Broadway too, so you know most of you have it. Otherwise, a polka will also work. Any of your polkas will also work. Keep it at between 100 and 110. I'm playing it at 110, and play it double time. Just play it the way it feels. It's going to be right. And if you need to slow it down, absolutely slow it down. Take out certain sections and just work on certain sections until especially the chords can get good. I will also give you the fingering. I'm going to play it one more time. Oh, let's go to a polka and try it. This is happy polka at 110. And I'm going to put my fill on the long pedals down here. Why? Because it makes it a lot easier. Okay, C. Happy polka. Let's play it down here. I didn't care for it as much on the polka, but if you don't have the Broadway opener, it will work in a pinch. Okay. Any questions about the chords? Nope, you got them? Okay. Just work those quick ones. Just work those quick ones slowly so that you get them. And if you don't like them at all, guess what? Forget about them. Just play the chords that are there. You'll be absolutely fine. You always want to keep your music fun. If it can't be fun, then it's time to find another song, honest and truly. Okay, let's do some fingering. And remember, write it in pencil, because if you don't like mine, and some days I don't like mine either. But this is just a good guide to get you started. D1.
Dawn, I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
On the second page, it's the third line, in the last note, E.
Uh-huh.
Did you add the C?
C augmented.
Yeah.
Yes.
C augmented.
Uh-huh.
You
Yes.
did. Okay,
E
fine.
augmented or C augmented. It's
Correct.
technically the same chord. It will have a little bit different sound only because the bass note changes. Whichever note you play on the bottom, that bass note is going to sound. But in a song that moves this quickly, I recommend playing the one that's easiest for your fingers to get to when we're moving that fast. So whichever one works the best for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's start again. D1, E2, F3. You might want to put an arrow on this next E. Make it a 1. F2, E1, F2, G3. The A can either be a 4 or a 2. If you make it a 2, you're going to want to put a check mark after that blacked-in quarter note. But try both of them and see which works the best for you. The G is a 1. A2, A2, G1, A2, G1, A2, B3. Third line, same thing on that C. Either make it a 2 or a 4. If you make it a 2, you're going to want to put a check mark right after that blacked-in quarter note. If you make it a 4, you're going to want to put an arrow on the next B because it's a 1. And again, it's just where your fingers get there the quickest and which one's easiest for your fingers to do. Just be consistent. C2, D3, C2, D3, C2, D3, E4. At the end of that held E down in the fourth line, check mark. Then you're going to come right down the line, D5, C4, A3, G2, D1. You might want to practice that a little bit too because of the stretching. I did not do any crossovers in that. I just came right down the line. Let's go to the second page. D1, E2, F3. Put an arrow on the next E, make it a 1. F2, E1, F2, G3. Second line, the A, same thing here. It's either going to be a 2 or a 4, whichever one's the easiest for you. The G is a 1. A2, A2, G1, A2, G1, A2, B3. Here we go again. That C is on line 3 is either going to be a 2 or a 4, whichever one is the easiest for you. B1, C2, D3, C2, D3, C2, D3, E4. At the end of that held E, check mark. D5, C4, A2, G1, D5. At the end of that held D. Check mark. Now if you're putting the insert in there, then you would have your other little page handy. It's kind of nice that it's right here at the beginning of a line, because when you get done with that little insert, then you just pick up right here, the clerk. F2, E1, F2, E1, F2, E1, F2, G3. Top of the second page, the A, once again, a 2 or a 4. Find the fingering that's the easiest for you, and then be consistent. The G is a 1. A2, end of that line, A2, G1. A2, G1, A2, B3. Here we go again. Here's a C. It's either going to be a 2 or a 4. B1, C2. Third line, D3, C2, D3, C2, D3, E4. D sharp 3. Fourth line, E4, C2, G1, A2, G1, high E5, C3, G1, A2, G1, A2, C3, D is 4, and the C is 3. And you can drag that last line out as long as you need to. Use lots of fill-ins, and if you're planning to play the song again, I would do a transpose up half a step, do lots of fill-ins at the end, transpose up, play it again. Change a preset if you wish. That's the perfect place to do that. Now, if you also wanted to change a preset, the insert is a good place to do it as well. So you get something a little bit different. All right, I am going to go back to, oh, I got to set my pedal magic again. The opener at 110. And it's on piano and strings. Pardon?
Donna, could you say your email address again, please?
Yes.
5028.
Absolutely, 5028 at FletcherMusic.com. And
Thank
that
you
comes
so
right
much.
here to the store. Perfect. Okay. I will play it one last time. Any questions about fingering before I play? Nope. You did okay on that? You're going to have to work some of those out yourself. Now, the last time I played the opener, I used that big, heavy organ sound that it comes up on. This time I am going to play it on a different preset, and it actually has piano and strings right here. And I don't think, yeah, I better not change anything else.
Dawn, what song are you playing?
That's entertainment, Ken.
Thank you. Sorry for, because I'm late.
That's okay. Totally different arrangement on this when I did it on preset 1. Whoops, that didn't hold. My fill did not hold. There it is. Okay, but that was a little bit lighter weight than the original because it took out the Orchestra Plus and put in a smaller sound on the top of piano strings instead of that great big organ. So that just gives you 2 different flavors. But you really want to have that bouncy, either a polka or that opener or theater organ, I believe, is the other one that comes up on song setup. So you get that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you want to play it in double time. So between 100, 110, work on it in sections. Once you really get going with this, and I'll tell you what, you want something that's going to make you feel good, play this song. It's a great one. Go to YouTube, watch some of the clips. Watch some of the clips because there's nothing like the old MGM, That's Entertainment clips from those shows that came out. It'll just make you feel good, and it'll make you de-stress about all the nonsense that's going on TV right now because it's stressing me out too. So the best thing to do is to turn that off and play music. Also, I will see you all on the Zoom musical at 1 o'clock this afternoon. That's 11 o'clock Arizona time. And next week we will do The Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing. Nice song. The Time of My Life. Okay. Any questions before we go?
No.
No.
I don't.
I
I'm
love it.
sorry.
Sue, you're so cute. Don't let this political stuff stress you out. I know it's easier said than done. I feel the same way. Play lots of music and play upbeat stuff that's going to make you feel good. You know, just don't play anything gloomy today. Play everything upbeat and fun. And it is what it is. And we have no more control over it. We voted. We know, we voted. We did our part. The rest of it now is out of our control. So play music to keep calm. Okay? All right. I love you guys. And
Thank you.
see you at 1
Thank you.
o'clock.
You too, Dawn. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Great. You too. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
all.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Thank you.